2023 is a fantastic year for animation. Well, for the most part. We had Spider-Verse, TMNT, Super Mario Brothers, Elemental, and so on. A movie I wasn't aware until recently is Adam Sandler's Leo, and I was just curious about what this movie was about based on like reviews and everything like that. So I give it a watch, and I just watched it a couple days ago again, just to figure out my thoughts overall in the movie. And so far, this is a really genuine like good movie. I mean, it's not like the best movie overall of the year, far from it, but it was still entertaining. Before I talk about what I like about the movie, I just want to talk about some of the flaws that it has. It has, yeah, like a good decent amount of flaws, but let's just take that first approach and then we'll talk about the stuff I like, which is mostly just more positive. One of the things I would say about this movie that holds it back a bit was the animation, as the style and the animation itself. It's not something like, extraordinary when it comes to like Pixar or even DreamWorks kind of level of animation. This is something like you would see in the 2010s era of animated movies. The movie doesn't really have its own style, and it doesn't feel like it's not taking any risk with its like animation and what they can do with 3D. And it's just really, kind of a bit boring and it's stale when you first look at it, and sometimes it can look a little bit ugly, I must admit. But when it comes to this story, for example, I don't think you don't need to go all out, as this is like a bit more interpersonal story with kids, and it's like in a smaller setting and a bit more realistic, besides the talking animal. Not only the animation is pretty basic and pretty safe, it's also the story that also holds it back. I mean, don't get me wrong, the story is pretty good and its characters are great. However, the characters and the story feel a bit, pretty basic and generic, where like, when I say generic, it's like it follows similar beats to other kids movies, and because of that, it makes Leo, doesn't feel significantly, stand out on its own, and it's just kind of, gonna become a bit more sideline when it comes to, future and like present, animated movies. And the movie also plays a lot of kid tropes, in films, such as having, for one, talking animals, and two, the lying part of the story where Leo basically lies to the kids like, oh yeah, you're special and everything like that, but then eventually towards the end of the movie they find out that he was lying, but at the same time, like towards the end, they forgive him and Leo makes up, his mistakes and everything like that. So it's just kind of like, the setup and like towards the end of it is just kind of a bit, basic, and it's not really that too much of an interesting idea, where like other movies do a little bit better and also they can do a bit poorly. So it doesn't really make Leo as a movie itself like stand out. Another flaw I want to point out is the music. This movie is kind of a musical with small bits of music and a character singing. However, it doesn't feel like a musical, as the songs don't necessarily feel like songs. Like they're really short and they just keeping like they keep breaking like different portions of it, and like when with dialogue and everything like that, and it's like kind of distracting. And the way these lyrics are written and like compiled, they just feel like they just come out of nowhere. Like it doesn't really fit. It doesn't just to me, it just doesn't feel like proper songs. And some of the kids, I'm gonna be honest too, they just don't sound good when they're singing, and I could tell like some of the kids like use like auto tune to make their voices sound a lot better when they're singing, and it's just really, really, really obvious that they are using auto tune. Honestly, I think this movie would have been a lot better if it wasn't a musical. I think it would just be fine, as I don't think this movie is like necessary to have like songs in it. Maybe like a feel like jittery songs or whatever in the beginning and towards the end or whatever. But as like, as a movie by itself, I don't think this movie necessarily needs any musical numbers or anything like that. It's just kind of feel kind of pointless. Like I think these songs are like unnecessary. I think the movie would continue to be the same if they didn't have the songs. But yeah, I'm just not really the biggest fans with the music. The only time I would say the music works effectively is when Leo talks with the kids about it, and I don't know, adds a little bit more flavor to it, I guess. But yeah, not really the biggest fan on the music in this movie. Despite these flaws with the movies I thoroughly still enjoyed the movie for what it is and its messaging. I would say the messages, in this movie definitely carries the whole movie for me, and why the connection and the emotional aspects of the film is so strong in this movie, at least for me. And in this movie we have Leo, who is this type of lizard. I forgot what it's called, but I'm gonna put it on the screen like right now. But anyways, he struggles with his mortality and tries to find time to, like, what he missed out, and try to escape. However, he gets taken home by one of the kids, and then he accidentally starts talking to them and basically gives them advice. And then he just, like, probably, like, listens to them about their issues. And throughout each week he gets visited by a new kid and talks about their problems individually. And it really helps them to become like better kids, to be more sociable, and stuff like that. I like how in the beginning of the movie, Leo doesn't really care about the kids that much. He just kind of labels them with Squidward, like, oh, that's the bully, that's the talkative one, that's the popular one, and such and so. But then once he visited like one of them for the first time and actually talked to them, he finally understands that these kids are really aware and complex, to think about their emotions. And it's really nice to see, like, throughout the weeks and throughout the movie, we get to see him like grow to appreciate and like love the kids, and have so much passion just to talk to them, and how much like of an impact that he's creating. Like, for me, like, as a person, just giving advice and like helping people, especially little kids, like, because I have experience like teaching my cousins, it's very satisfying to for them to be happy and like appreciate your help. And it's really heartwarming to see Leo, my bad guys, heartwarming to see Leo teaching these kids and helping them out, and like properly be themselves, how to be more sociable, and letting people down, asking them questions, lessons like that. And it's just very intriguing to witness, because I don't think a lot of kids movies like do this much depth with these kids characters. And I'm really glad this movie really deep dive what their issues are and like what they can do about it. And it's really nice to see Leo just getting excited and actually staying behind at. Leo is a great and endearing character that genuinely cares about the kids, and through his kindness and just listening, they all become like succeeding students, and they actually want the thing to go to the theme park. And it really shows, like, just a little bit of help and listening and advice really makes a whole lot of difference on different people. Squirtle, the talking turtle, who is alongside Leo and has been there almost as long as him. And throughout the movie, we see Squirtle just being envy towards Leo as he keeps getting picked, and he just keeps berating him about leaving the tank and everything like that. He's like, why do you keep coming back? And everything like that. And I love how Squirtle is just like very like jealous of Leo overall. And when he gets his chance to get picked, he immediately just wants to talk to the kids, like, hey, come over here, let me talk to me too about your problems. And it's just like not the best way to talk about it. He's like forcing them to talk about it, not just like let them talk it out. And then he gives like the worst advice, and then like it's not really about their personal issues at all. It was just about something that's bothering his mind, not like what's deep down. So after the whole shenanigans about helping that kid, he almost got thrown out the window. And so his attempt, really failed terribly. Later in the movie, we also have Squirtle just snitching on Leo to the kids and just tell him, oh, like, yeah, he's been lying to you guys. You guys aren't that special. And he's been talking to you guys all along behind you guys' back. And then later in the film, he realized that he misses Leo, and then that the fact that he told on him was a mistake. And so he goes out and try to save Leo, tell the kids like, hey, Leo's in trouble, he's dying. So he went on to try to find him. And then Squirtle apologizes to Leo, and they reconcile, and they become best buddies again. And it's really nice. And I just gotta say, Squirtle is really funny. He's really sarcastic and basically just Bill Burr, just playing Bill Burr. But I think it just fits appropriately as Leo's reflection. His like opposite or parallel, when it compares to the kids. It's not like Squirtle doesn't really care. He's just not the one. He's not as observant as he is, and more considerate as Leo. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Squirtle. My second favorite thing about this movie is the characterization of the kids. Each kid has their own like quirk and personality, and at first the movie like sets it up as the stereotypical role of kids, such as the bully, the nerd, the popular kid, the class clown, etc. However, this movie really explores their insecurities and personal issues and how aware of their problems are. Kids aren't exactly dumb; they are aware of their feelings, but however, like each kid explains that they can't really talk to their parents there, or at least they don't know how to. And so that's when Leo comes in. When the first kid he talks to, she has an issue of like talking to others, as she keeps talking about and rambling on about herself and some other things. But Leo like suggests like, hey, perhaps maybe you should listen to them and ask them a question, just be considerate of their feelings. And that's a really great first lesson right there. We also have Leo talk to a kid who has struggles with helicopter parenting, and he basically teaches him, how to let down people, in a respectful manner to gain his independence and, be on his own. In which, he breaks up with his drone, and it's a really comedic timing, and it's really funny to see this drone just being overly dramatic and just being like that ex that wants to come back to you. Yeah, I love how the drone just have his own personality, basically. We also have Leo, helping out this one kid who thinks everything is great and that she has to live up to her expectations of her family. But Leo, like, lets her down, saying, like, nobody's that great. You can still be, like, great and, like, your own person, but no one's, like, above others. So you gotta, tone it down, learn how to be more humble, in which, the kid invites everybody in her class to, join the party and not be so snobbish. And it really helps her out to be more sociable and more likable. And throughout the whole movie, you get to see Leo help out every kid, and it really is genuine and really full of wisdom, and it really helps them out to become better students overall. The kids aren't the most complex characters. They don't really deep dive that much too much, but I wouldn't say they're like one note characters, but it does its job, and it's serviceable like growth and development and become better. But yeah, it's pretty much like kind of surface level at the same time. But I'm glad we got to explore these kids like insecurities and issues, and we have the time of like for Leo to talk to them. And I think that's like my favorite part of the movie, just Leo just talking to them and like singing and stuff like that. And it really shows like Leo's progression, as well as he grows to appreciate that he's actually creating an impact on these kids and have a sense of purpose in his life. A character I didn't expect to care that much is Miss Malkin, the substitute teacher. Miss Malkin in the movie comes off as this mean, old spirited, old fashioned, by the books substitute teacher. And that's what we get to see throughout the movie. But however, over time you get to see her letting her guard down, as you get to see her see the kids slowly opening up to her and like engaging with the stuff she like teaching. And then overall she just keep getting praised by the other teachers and parents, like as in the first act. You get to see the parents complaining about her just not being like a good teacher and all that stuff like that. But once she gets that praise and like affection from everybody, she just feels like she actually made a impact on these kids and actually doing well. And then eventually she finds out that Leo like talks to the kids, and he basically talks to him about it. And overall she just talks about like why she's so bitter and like so sad and everything like that is because no one really gave her the chance or the appreciation she deserves, and that's why she was always so mean spirited. A bit later in the film, we get to see Leo get dropped off in the Everglades by Miss Malkin, as she fears that if Leo continues to stay, then she doesn't get her happiness and the appreciation she gets. And so she gets rid of Leo to get all the credit, and leaves him in the Everglades. But at the same time, as before she leaves, she regretfully looks back and just thinking to herself like, what am I doing, and am I doing it for the right reason and out of my own selfishness? But she continues to drive off and go back to the school, and basically lies to the kids that Leo basically left them and said like best regards and stuff like that. Of course, towards the end of the movie, Miss Malkin gets exposed by Squirtle, in which she explains why she left Leo in the Everglades, and to redeem herself, she grabs the bus again and starts driving to the Everglades to find Leo with the kids. I also find it really funny how the kids immediately found Leo within like 5 minutes. They just know where he was and they managed to find him. And the pacing of the ending feels like a little rushed because of that, and so like I don't know how to really feel about it. It's just really weird. But yeah, the Leo apologized to the kids and they reconcile with him, and Leo was there for their graduation, and everybody's just thanking Leo for their help, and yeah, that's pretty much the end of the movie, and the kids go on to the sixth grade now. Overall, this is like a solid movie. We start off, Leo having a dying life crisis, but he just wants to do as much things as he can, and when he like gets picked up by the kids, he try to escape, but over time he learns to appreciate and like learn about the kids and who they are, and actually gaining a purpose in his life now, because he didn't really do much as a the little lizard he is. And so I'm really glad that it really is like relatable to the older audiences as well, that you can find purpose in the little things, and the things that you do could impact others, and not only that, it could also positively impact you. The thing I want to say real quick is about the third act of the movie, because like if the first and second act does really well, and the setup is like perfect. The second act was like just going through the kids issues and everything like that, and then the third act is just feel kind of janky and feels like all over the place, and the pacing feels off. And watching that movie, like I was like subconsciously thinking about it, and I was just watching a Saber Sparks video about Leo, about his opinions on the third act, and I completely agree with him that like it feels really off at times, and it's really bad pacing at certain moments. But I mean, like overall I still enjoyed it. It was like an okay ending, and like everything concluded. But I'm really glad this movie is getting its like praise. I know some people don't really necessarily agree completely. Maybe it's because of our mediocre taste as viewers, but I don't know. It's just me. I enjoyed the movie. Let me know what you guys think about it. And yeah, Leo's a great movie. You should watch it if you want. For an Adam Sandler movie, compared to his other animated movies, this is a really refreshing movie to watch. And even though it doesn't really take any risk or any new ideas, it's still an entertaining film. Another thing I want to admit real quick before this video ends is that, I got very emotional and teary-eyed, when Leo talks to the kids. It just feels really relatable, and it's really heartwarming and endearing to witness. And the thing I appreciate the most is the kid with Mia, and how she talks about her grandfather, and the situation with her divorced parents, and how she doesn't really know how to talk about it or who to talk to with. And I'm really glad that Leo really talked to her, and she just listened, and he doesn't really know how to properly help her, and she just enjoyed being around her and stuff like that. So that really made it really relatable to me, as a person that grew up with divorced parents and everything like that. But yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the movie. Just I'm really glad this this movie really focuses on the kids and about their issues, where like it's like kind of like surface level, but at the same time it took its time with it. I still enjoyed it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of the movie. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Leo.